First, we want to introduce you. So tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are, diving into what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay, my name is Dominique Holiday. I am 27 years old. I am from Orangeburg County, right in between the Nices and Norway area. I am a historian, scholar, intellectual, and a genealogist.
Perfect. Okay, so how long have you been in the historian genealogy type path? How long have you been doing that?
Since I was, let me see, if I had to be truthful, I started when I was 15, but I started doing a deeper dive when I was 18.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what triggered it at 15? Because that's usually kind of early. I know in our tradition, we kind of gravitate towards our family history, but it's still kind of like we're so used to it that it's like we hear it. But what
Yeah.
made you dive into it?
Well, growing up, hearing my parents and grandparents talk about their childhood and their, parents and grandparents, and then my mom going to a HBCU, South Carolina State, and her coming back telling me all the things she was learning. So, and then my eighth grade history teacher, Walter Curry, he just put more oil on the fire, just inspiring me.
So diving into the inland Gullah.
Mm.
So when you found out, like I know you said you were told growing up as we have it in our oral tradition, hearing our history, hearing certain words, how did you come to recognize that there was some kind of disconnect between who was Gullah and who wasn't, and how did that fuel into your method of research?
Like I said, I really started putting everything together when I was 23 because I started watching Geechee Experience with, Kato and Akua. And I was like, wait a minute, a lot of these terms I'm hearing are terms I grew up hearing as well as terms that everybody around me use and they grew up hearing. So, I just started getting curious, like, wait a minute, them so-called people, as we, some people like to say in Orangeburg down there, they's connected to us and we's connected to them. So, I just started doing research, whatever, trying to find as much as I could. And then I came across Mansa Fode and Roger Gas. Like, you had others who had the same, not theory, but knew as well. Like, wait a minute. Orangeburg, people in Orangeburg are very much part of the larger Gullah Geechee story. So I started diving more into my own genealogy, seeing if I could find anybody who may have been born in the Lowcountry or the Sea Island areas. And then also, I came across my fourth great grandfather, James Blake, who was born in 1843 and 1844, who came from Beaufort and moved to Orangeburg.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm.
just started finding a lot of historical, cultural, and geographical gems that help connect the puzzle and make it into a whole picture.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that there is a misconception or intended exclusion with how the corridor was drawn? Because we know that some areas aren't included in the
Yeah.
corridor, as you said, Orangeburg. But as you stated, there's been migrations. There's all these things, all these factors, and plus the geographical part of it, where it's like, no, this was once part of this.
Yeah.
How are
Yeah.
we excluded now? Like, do you think that is intentional, or do you think that it's just
From what I've been told, it's a little bit of both. Like, this is
Mhm.
intentional because this is a corridor that was made up due to government, due to political and economic funding. And then also a lot of people, they think that that Gullah Geechee culture is just limited to just the Low Country and Sea Islands areas of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, where that's a misconception. It extends inland. The roots and the essence of it are there, but the branches extend all over the state. And I just think, like, because for instance, okay, had the corridor been created maybe back in the late 1800s, Orangeburg, before Berkeley County even came into existence, that whole area was right there, was part of the Charleston district, was right next to Orangeburg district
Mhm.
until Berkeley was created. So that corridor would extend inland. And then when Berkeley County annexed Holly Hill and Utahville, which were also part of the Charleston district, when that came into Orangeburg, all of that will be part of the Gullah Geechee corridor as well.
Gotcha. And do you think that the misinterpretation of the corridors. Like you said, if it was made at a certain time,
Mm-hmm.
with when it was made, do you think the misinterpretation of the corridor helped cause I want to say division, but it is a little bit of division and exclusion.
Yeah.
And then do you think that we'll ever be able to kind of overcome that and get rid of all the nuance and say this is like this is our people right here, one
Well,
county over?
it's happening as we speak right now because we had our first Gullah Geechee Heritage Festival early in the year. And then also, by us doing Mansa Fode, and Roderick Gass, two head co-hosts who invited me on to the podcast 2 years ago, we have been rewriting narrative with historical, cultural, genealogical, and geographical truths. So maybe one day, hopefully it gets to that point. But from what I'm hearing, people have been having eyes on Orangeburg and they've been listening like, yeah, you guys are very much part of the story. And this includes
Mhm.
also Barnwell, Bamberg, Aiken, and Calhoun, because all of those counties were once part of the much larger Orangeburg district.
I get it. Yeah. That makes sense. I know with my grandmother's side, it's
Mm-hmm.
like certain parts because they're from Dillon. And
Mm-hmm.
that's right there. It's right out there. But it's like some parts, if you go to Dillon, they'll be like, oh no, we not them crazy talking people from down there. And then you go right across the street and it's like, I'm back on the sea island. So how how is that reconciled in those areas where they're not a part of the corridor? Do you think it would be hard for others who have distanced themselves from the Gullah Geechee heritage to kind of accept that, oh wait, that is us?
Yeah, I imagine it would be kind of difficult for the older ones, but if the younger ones, like, 50 and below, they do the study, do the self reflection, and you think they can help connect those dots. They can help bring the two together. The older ones, how some older people, they get as fixated in their ways, so they're not going to change but so easily.
Yeah, yeah. Them crazy talking people. Like it's that way with my grandma. My grandma has dementia, and some days she Gullah, some days she talking. I don't know nothing about no Gullah.
Like
I
you,
can see.
are ARU, you're just extensions of each other.
Right. And she spoke Gullah when she was younger. And my auntie has confirmed that. But when she's in her dementia, she'll flip sides. And I'm like, okay, I see how y'all was doing down there. Y'all be Gullah one minute and then the next, oh no, I ain't. It depends on who you talking to.
That's right. And then it was a derogatory term to call somebody a Geechee or a Gullah, especially in the northern states. But I mean, I'm happy to see the movement that is being more embraced now, and more people want to learn more about the history and culture.
Mm.
Tracks are being made as we speak.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that a little bit, about how the the division between the actual people and if they accept the word or not,
Mm-hmm.
like is because it used to be derogatory.
Yeah.
Um, I think that should be a good topic to explore of how this became one thing to another, and now we're experiencing a shift of, oh no, this is something of pride
Yeah.
for most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Now, then some people still gonna be like, I want to.
Right, right. I think that's a good topic, especially you mentioned up north. I haven't um considered northern thoughts towards Gullah. Like,
Oh yeah.
do you have any information about that?
Well, my two co-hosts, each one, Roderick Gass, he was born in Cope, which is a small town on the western side of Orangeburg, and he moved to the Bronx and he was a kid. So he told me the experiences, when he first came up there, the northern in New York, the Bronx kids would be like, oh man, you Geechee, you rice eating Geechee, dot, 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 so then Mansa Fode, he was born in Philly, but he's very much Orangeburg rooted. He would tell me things as well. So like, people change with the times and the times change with the people.
Right.
It's in flip now. So because you got people up north who are becoming more curious about their southern roots. Because I like to
Mm-hmm.
say South, the Caribbean, Central America, South America, those are the doorsteps into Africa. Before you go to Africa, you should visit the South if you're from the South, you know.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true. That's a good point. And that brings the topic of Binya versus Kamya.
Yeah, yeah, that's a crazy one too. Like, oh, I've been here, you come here. Like, don't you can't help that you were born up north or your family and you when you were a child moved up north. That should not be a divider. You're
Right.
very out there to embrace and how can I say embrace and learn more about your heritage and culture. You can't
Hmm.
never be a divider.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. I didn't know that there was that faction because I've been both my whole life. I was kind of raised in South Carolina, but I'm an army brat. I move everywhere, so I come yeah, but I've been yeah.
Yeah, I've been in
I don't know.
all my life, and I got cousins. Another thing too, families aren't as close as they used to be. So the ones up north don't come down and visit the ones down south. But if they came, when my cousins do come from up north, I embrace them and accept them. Like I'm not gonna say, "Oh, you come here, I've been here." Like I'm not gonna be like,
Mm,
no, that's too divisive.
a mess. It is a mess. I hate it. But yeah, that's interesting. How there's so many different layers, even like you were mentioning between little borders in the state, and then you have those who left during the Great Migration and all that stuff. It's like, are we one people or not? And then it ties back to the creation of the corridor, which kind of drew those invisible lines. And
Mhm.
it's like we're kind of excluding a lot of history and a lot of groups here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just because of some man-made corridor, some lines drawn in a map, it's like a continuation of colonialism to me. Like,
Bingo.
yeah.
It is. And I would like to say that I've noticed that the Geechee
Mhm.
especially are very upset because now everything is Gullah Geechee,
Yeah,
Gullah
yeah.
Geechee. And as South Carolina Gullahs,
Mhm.
we understand that I may or may not be Gullah Geechee, even though they call this whole thing the Gullah Geechee corridor.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of erasing those two identities where some of us do have both. Like my family is Gullah, and then we have Geechee from Georgia,
Mhm.
but we have Gullah from South Carolina. But not everybody is Gullah Geechee.
Yeah. It is crazy because historically I've read in the WPA slave narratives of people from like